Here we go again. We have your weekend Apple news. Welcome back to the channel. So what do we have again? We have the weekend Apple news where I have a drink. We go through about 20 or 25 different Apple related stories. You sit back and relax on the weekend. Without further ado, let's get into the Apple news. So what do I have this weekend? It's actually not a German beer. You got to watch my old videos for that one. Anyways, I got a twisted tea right here. I have not had one of these for years. It also matches my yellow iPad over here. Anyways, really refreshing. I got to put a ton of ice in this thing. It tastes just like a normal iced tea. Enjoy your cappuccino, your coffee, or whatever you're drinking, and let's get into the Apple news. All right, article number 1 is from Apple Insider. It says, Apple dominates the U.S. tablet market and Mac sales are surging. But this is a little misleading. I'll tell you why in a second. But over here, we have a graph over here. It says, overall, the PC market defined by computing devices other than tablets has seen shipments up 5% year over year. So that's good news, right? Here's the graph, though. Apple looks like here's the growth over here between 0% and 10 or 15%. Apple's growth is going up here. You can see that. So that's really good news for Apple and MacBooks and stuff like that. Down here it says, for desktops and notebook computers, Apple saw an annual growth of 22%. That's actually really good. That puts it to second place only to Lenovo at 22.4%. Now this is cool because you don't usually get numbers like this. Take a look at this. It means that Apple had a 14.2% of the desktop and notebook computer market in this quarter, and it shipped 2.1 million Macs in the quarter. Imagine that. Down from I'm actually up from 1.723 basically in 2023, so for that quarter. So it's doing over 2 million per quarter. This gives you some cool numbers, right? You don't usually get this from Apple. Then over here it says the picture's a little different for tablets. It says Apple saw an annual decline of 8.8%. So the tablet market's going down, and the other one's going up 22%. Tablets are going down 8%, or 9% almost. Apple's decline was the least, though, with Amazon seeing a fall of 21.5% and Microsoft getting 30% drop in their tablets. It might go up now with their new stuff coming out. But then down here it says Apple shipped almost 5 million iPads in the quarter. So they're shipping about 2 million Macs, 5 million iPads right here. So that's actually really cool. And then it says down from about 5.4 million the year before. So it went from, obviously it's moving down. That's actually cool numbers, right? So they're, 2.5 times the number of iPads than the Macs. Now you know why that they put a little more effort into the, into the iPads, but there's probably way more money in the Macs, I guess, when you buy those, bigger systems. All right, so this next one I thought was really interesting as well. This is from Apple Insider. It says, why AAA games promoted by Apple flop in the App Store. So if you go in here, it says, analysts of major iOS game launches, including Death Stranding and Assassin's Creed Mirage, has revealed that the pricing games at console levels simply doesn't work at the App Store. So basically, this will make more sense. It says basically Apple's Q1 revenue for the App Store is hitting $13 billion, so it's super profitable for them. But these other big games, if you scroll all the way down here, this is crazy. So it says Assassin's Creed Mirage was downloaded approximately 123,000 times since June 6th. However, it has only managed to gross $138,000. Believe that, $138,000. The report believes that the revenue indicates that fewer than 3,000 people were willing to unlock the full game at $49.99. Can you imagine that? You can see also, this is the per day. So as per day, these are all going down as far as the number of downloads. Not good news. It says the game performed worse than the previous made-for-mobile release, Assassin's Creed Rebellion, launched in November 2018, but managed 1.9 million downloads and only about a little bit less than $1 million in revenue for the same post-launch. It says more damaging is that Rebellion saw revenue growth of 82% over the launch period versus a 79% decline for Mirage. So long story short, this goes on and it keeps going down here. If you keep going down, it says, Resident Evil had downloaded 375,000 times, but only 208,000 of revenue, so people actually paid for it. This other one, Resident Evil 7, had 817,000 downloads, but made about $420,000 of money. And it goes on and on. So you can see that these games for developers are just not profitable for them. And this is the big problem with coming, games, AAA games coming to the Mac. A lot of people are willing to spend money on the cheap games, like the $1 to $10 games it's saying here. But overall, they're not willing to spend $50, on a console game type system on a Mac for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's the performance. I have no idea why. You guys can tell me in the comments. This next one's just an added feature, and I think it's kind of cool to iPadOS. Over here, 9 to 5 Mac. iPadOS 18 lets you format external drives on an iPad. So, long story short, digital artist and developer, this guy here, has spotted a handy new feature in iPadOS 18. For the first time, you can format external drives on an iPad, choosing between 3 different format options. Basically, you can see them here, APFS, exFAT, and MS-DOS FAT. So, down here, I have it highlighted right here, but it says, now in the Files app in iPadOS, when you right-click or hold press on an external drive and select Erase, new options appear for reformatting the drive. Currently, the formats, like I just said, are APFS, exFAT, and the other one. It's basically just like kind of on macOS. So overall, I thought that was kind of a cool thing. So you can finally format your drives if you're actually in iPadOS 18. Just a cool feature. Hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. This thing's leaking everywhere. Twisted tea. Not too bad, right? All right, here we go. Over here it says, new leaked illustrations claim Apple Watch X has a bigger screen than Apple Watch Ultra, all right? This is from Apple Insider. It says right here, the leak of the series of CAD renderings from Apple Watch Series 10 show it's having an even larger screen than the Apple Ultra Watch on a smaller body. So they're actually making the body smaller, but the screen they're stretching out somehow. So basically, let's just see in here. According to 91 Mobiles, however, the screen is said to be 50.8 millimeters. This is based on what is claimed to be a CAD series of sourced from unspecified industry insiders. But here's the CAD images. So if this is actually true, we'll see. This says it's basically from 91 Mobiles. Those renders appear to show that despite the larger screen, Apple Watch X will have a smaller chassis. Specifically, the renders indicate that the body size of 46 by 39.7, making it bigger than the Apple Series Watch 9, but still smaller than the actual Ultra Watch. I mean, the total size of it, but the screen on this is going to be bigger for all it's worth. I thought that was interesting. I'm not a huge Apple Watch person, but it looks like the screens keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but they're making the body smaller and smaller and smaller. So eventually maybe it'll curve around or something. Who knows? All right, so now we actually got a couple different MacBook sales. Now, if you watch this a little bit later, these may not be available, but use this as the price point that is actually a good deal. Here's the first one over here. This is on Amazon. I'll have a link to this if it's still available. But it says Apple 2023. So this is going to be the M3 Pro chip. It's actually got, let me see here, the 16.2-inch, 36 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD storage. This is down over $300, 12%, $350 down, $25.49 for 36 gigs. 512 gigabyte SSD, but basically it's going to be the let me just see here, make sure 16.2 inch. There it is. So I think that's actually a good deal. $350 off. It's about as good as deals you're going to get from Apple right now. And then we have another one coming up right after this. This is basically the M3 Pro chip as well. This is going to be the 16.2 inch as well, but this has got less RAM, 18 gigabytes, and then 512. So just the actual RAM is a little bit less. $21.99, so that's 12% off, down from $24.99. So you get $300 off there. So you either get $350 off or you get $300 off. You guys tell me, is that a pretty good deal? I don't know. That's about as good as you can get with Apple. All right, so this is finally coming, to the iPhone. It says right here, select U.S. carriers introduce support for RCS on iOS 18 beta from Apple Insider. So if you scroll down, it says the second developer beta of iOS 18 introduced the toggle for RCS and messages. And now select U.S. carriers have made RCS available to users running the beta. So if you run the beta on these specific users, we'll get into this in a second. So it's the introduction of RCS support on both Apple and the carriers means that users will now have the option to send rich text messages with audio, read receipts, and media files on two devices running Android. So users on social media platform X discovered the limited availability of this feature earlier Tuesday. So as of iOS 18 Beta 2 contains updated carrier bundles for 3 major carriers, AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. So if you have those 3, this RCS could be available. It says on the other ones it's going to take a lot longer, like the smaller, I guess, I don't know if it's Mint Mobiles and those type of like small phone companies that actually kind of piggyback on these lines here. But I think those are going to take a little bit longer. But the 3 main carriers, it looks like it's coming to fairly soon. So I guess that's good news if you have friends that have Android. I actually use a Google phone also, and I have an Apple phone. So for me, it's good news. All right, so this next one's from 9 to 5 Mac, as this thing leaks everywhere. Here we go. iOS system data bugs stealing your iPhone storage. Here are 5 solutions. So I'm not sure you knew about this, but it says there's been an iOS bug for years that gobbles up a big percentage of your phone's available storage. The issue persists in iOS 17.5.1 and beyond, but fortunately there's solutions that don't involve wiping your iPhone Here's how to fix the system data storage bug, all right? Now, I'm just reporting this. This is from 9to5Mac. You guys can go here and check out the entire article. I'm going to show you what the 5 are. There's one that you have to do on your own, take your own chances. So if I scroll down here, the way to fix this, it says try powering it off and powering on your iPhone. So that's the first advice they have. If you haven't powered it off in a long time, try that. I don't think that's going to work. Then it says change iMessage history to keep for 1 year or 30 days instead of forever. So instead of keeping all your messages, iMessage history forever, keep for 1 year or 30 days, and that'll actually help remove a lot of that space. Who knows if that's going to work as well. It says some users have reported success with deleting and reinstalling Apple TV for some reason to clear the cache, and doing the same with Instagram, TikTok, Discord, Slack, and others. So if you do that, sometimes that can reclaim a lot of that space back for some reason. Just an option there. The next one is clear your Safari cache. It says basically settings, Safari, history, website data. This impacts any sites that you were logged into. Just be aware of that. That's the fourth one. And then finally, this one by Reddit. And again, you have to link to this. It says there's more complex date trick that seems to work reliably to purge iOS system data. Make sure you follow the steps as described to avoid losing iMessages in the process. So very important. I'll have a link to this one. You can go ahead and read through it. I'm not going to tell you to do that last one, but I guess what are they saying here? It went from this guy went from 60 gigabytes of storage or system data to 8, 60 gigs to 8. He freed up 52 gigabytes of space by following some of these methods. So who knows? If you need some more space, it might work. All right, I talked about this next one a couple of videos ago, but now it's coming to some macOS basically, which I'm kind of more interested in. So iCloud Keep Downloaded option included in iOS 18 and macOS Sequoia, all right? So if you basically, in the cloud, if you have applications or data, sometimes Apple used to move it to the cloud automatically and you have no control over what it's doing. And then when you want it back, sometimes you have to reload it back. So if you're in a plane or something, it could go away and you could be in some trouble, right? You can't get it when you're in a plane. So here it says, iOS 18, iPadOS 18, and macOS Sequoia, so all three of those, Apple has added a new Keep Downloaded option when browsing items in the cloud, allowing users to designate which files and folders should remain permanently available locally on their device. So it doesn't go off into the cloud, it stays locally. So here it is. Basically, I think what you have to do is, in previous versions of iOS and macOS, users had limited control. So it says, basically, you just have to right-click on it. So inside of here, like this is going to be, I guess, macOS. It says click on iCloud Drive right here. Click on the folder. You right-click on it, and then it says Keep Downloaded right there. See, that's going to be a new feature. You're going to hit Keep Downloaded, and then it won't move that off to the cloud. It'll always stay local on your device. So if you're in a plane or you're somewhere where you can't get Wi-Fi to get stuff back, if it's really important for you, keep it downloaded on the device. It's going to use more space, but it's, I think, a good addition to what they have. All right, for the next story, we all know how Vision Pro is having a hard time selling right now. It's because of the cost, I think, the weight of the device. A lot of people are complaining about the weight of the device. So how are they going to solve this? How are we going to move forward with the Apple Vision Pro? Apple Insider. The Apple Vision Pro successor may need to be tethered to an iPhone or a Mac. And this makes a lot of sense. Hold on one second. It says a new report says that more mass market and lower cost version of the Apple Pro Vision headset won't be as much of a standalone device as the existing model is, all right? It says right here, Apple has been working on prototypes of a lower-cost AR/VR headset, followed by its debut of its original version. The future device is rumored to cut costs by narrowing the field of vision and other changes, but the major savings will come from requiring it to be tethered to an iPhone or a Mac or even an iPad or something like that. So, long story short, I think this makes a lot of sense, right? Hold on one second. People go on, I read the whole article, and people said it's already tethered to like that battery, and you have to tether it obviously to get the more power and stuff like that. So, I mean, long story short, this is the way to do it, right? So what they can do is they're saying the cost can go down to about $1,500 if they do this. So what they're going to be working on currently, I think it looks like, is just the goggles obviously are going to be way lighter now because a lot of the processing won't be in the device. It's going to be on your phone or your iPad or your Mac or whatever you have. So basically, you can go ahead and just plug it in. Now, there's a lot of glasses like that already, right? Like the Virtue and like all the different the Airs and stuff like that are out there. It's a different device, but they're basically the glasses, like virtual reality glasses type stuff that you just plug into a device. And I think Apple needs to go this way. You're already tethered, right? You already have the device in your hand. They're making those devices way more powerful. Like obviously there's going to be an M4 chip over here and iPads and stuff. So overall, I think this is actually a good idea. And then you won't have everything up in the headset. It's probably too heavy, too expensive to do it that way anyway. You can save a ton of costs if you have everything inside your phone, right? So that's the way to solve this. And then all of a sudden things drop way in cost down to that like $1,500 to $1,200 cost, and we're golden. You tell me, what do you guys think about that? I think it's actually a good idea. All right. So this next one we have here is going to be another Apple product sale. That is good. I'm telling you, that's good. Over here on Apple, it's basically an Apple refurbished site. But tell me in the comments, is this a good deal or not? I think this is actually a really good deal. Apple refurbished. So it says refurbished 13-inch MacBook Air M2 chip, 8-core CPU, 10-core GPU, space gray, $1189. All right. So why is it $1189? That doesn't sound like a great deal. But take a look at this. It's 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabyte SSD. Actually, both upgraded, right? For $1189. So what I think is I propose you buy this instead of an M3 that's only got 8 gigs of RAM. The 16 gigs of RAM makes this fly. I actually have one sitting back there, but it's the 15-inch. You get that with the faster SSD as well, and you're golden there as well, right? Keep saying gold, maybe because I got this gold iPad over here. I have no idea what I'm doing. Anyways, long story short, that's actually a good deal. Tell me in the comments, what do you think? I'd rather get this M2 than an M3 that's a base model. You can do a lot more with this, and the chips are like, what, 18, 15% difference? It's not that much. All right, so on this channel, we touch on this, or on this news, we always touch on this from time to time because it's kind of a funny kind of story. Apple Insider, it says, you can now own Steve Jobs' iconic 1984 Macintosh ad suit, but it'll cost you, right? So here it is right here. You can see him in it. And I guess I remember it, but it's not something that you kind of remember, right? I mean, you kind of do, but you're not like, oh, remember that suit? So it says right over here, at auction loaded with clothing worn by former Apple CEO, features a famous suit he wore to promote the Mac, and is expected to bring $30,000. It says you too can own a piece of advertising history if you're willing to fight for this in auction. It's the iconic blue pinstripe suit worn in January 1984 marketing photograph. It's currently up for bid. So do you guys remember that? I don't remember that suit. I remember maybe him in the ad, but not the suit. It says it features vertical lines throughout with 2 front pockets, 1 breast pocket. It's actually a 39/49 size, so if you fit into it, maybe you can wear it and destroy it, I guess. So anyways, long story short, it says if you don't like that, there's basically a second brown silk polo Ralph Lauren necktie from 1977 for around $2,000. I think it's going to go for it, at least starting bid. And then down here it goes on to say that they sold some kind of a check that he signed or something for $46,000. So who's buying all this? I keep asking people in these kind of, in my thing here, who's buying this? Who's got that much money? I mean, he must have worn a million things in ads, right? Or when he was on stage and stuff, his shoes is this. I mean, is everyone going to keep buying this stuff? And then do people actually get their money back on it? I can't imagine spending like 50 grand on a suit like this that just was in an ad a long time ago. And then all of a sudden, I can see like Michael Jordan's like Game 7 shoes or something, but I can't imagine this. But you tell me, am I wrong? All right, so this next one was interesting to me. I hope it's to you. Just Apple versus Samsung. Here it is, 9 to 5 Mac. Samsung smartphones outsell Apple, but majority of phones are flagship models. So what does this mean? So after doing some studies on Apple Music and Apple News, CIRP is out with a new report of smartphone sales in the U.S. So we're talking about who sells the most smartphones in the U.S. This kind of shocked me. So it says right here, here's a graph. It says Apple's 33%. It says share of U.S. smartphone sales. Samsung is up to 38%. You can see there, then Motorola, Google, and other. But, it's kind of interesting here. So it says, let me see here. It says the majority of iPhone sales, though, are 64% of them are what they consider flagship models. Now, flagship is not what you think. Flagships in this report means basically iPhone 15s, the newest model of iPhone. And then for Samsung, the newest models would be the S23, 24, the Flip, and the Fold smartphones. So that's what they considered flagship. So, but if you look at the next graph, Apple sells 64% of the flagships, meaning the more expensive current models. And Samsung only over here sells 42% current models, and like the rest of them are going to be old models. So Apple sells a lot newer models, obviously, even though they don't sell as many, they're selling the new models. Samsung's selling way more older models, basically the ones that people pick up on eBay and stuff like that. So they're, obviously they get really cheap down to like $150 you can pick them up for. And this is where the difference is coming in. People are maybe that's a sign of the economy, right? Maybe people are going to cheaper phones and they're just buying those cheap phones. But overall, it looks like Apple's still in good shape because they're selling the more expensive ones. This next article has to do with a lot of the AI coming out, or at least what Apple's thinking for the future. Apple Insider says Apple's working out how to use the Mac in parallel with iPhone and iPad to process big jobs right there. So what does that mean? It says Apple isn't content with existing distributed computing technologies and is working on a way to network your Mac, iPhone, iPad, and maybe even your Vision Pro together to combine processing jobs dynamically according to the device power. So basically to get a big calculation done faster. This is interesting, right? And I never really thought about this. So if you think about it, Apple has to move stuff to like their servers. They're talking about the Apple Silicon servers and stuff. And obviously a lot of it's done on device. But what they're saying here is what they're thinking about is if you have an iPad or something, you have a Mac, and you're using your phone, if your phone has a really big request, it's going to go out and talk to all your devices and maybe move the processing off to the other devices to help get it done faster. Now, I think it's a good idea, right? If you have just a Mac sitting there doing nothing, you can send that process to it. It'll come back to the phone way quicker, and it's still in your environment. And the negative, though, imagine if you're sitting here like, this is the one thing I thought about is like, let's say you have an iPad you need for work tomorrow and you charge it fully, but then this thing's doing all these things behind the task and behind the curtain. You have no idea what's going on. You open this thing up in the morning and it's got like 20% left of battery in it or something. So they have to have a way to control that, right? Where you can tell it, should you really use it if your battery and stuff like that. But overall, I think it's a good idea because now you're using everything that you bought and you purchased. Things will get done faster. It's in the environment, more secure. And this is the future for their AI, just all that computing done inside. All right, so for this next one, I'm taking a sip because this is a story that gets me upset, and I tend to do that. That's good. Here we go. 9 to 5 Mac. Security bite. Meta will start using your data to train its AI next week, but you may be able to opt out of it, but only if you're in Europe. So listen to this thing. So down here it says, as Meta ramps up its efforts to stay competitive in the industry dominated by AI, users are becoming increasingly concerned over a significant update to its privacy policy. Beginning June 26, which was, I guess, a couple days ago, if you post or interact with chatbots on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, or WhatsApp, Meta may use your data to train its generative AI models, but you may be able to opt out depending on where you live. So I read the whole article. It says basically you can really, really only opt out because if you're in Europe, in those type of countries where they have kind of a law against this. But down here it says, what this means for U.S. users, it's a grim outlook for those outside the European Union, including the U.S., since the United States has no overacting national data policy like this. So it says the next best option, fill out the data subject rights for a third-party information used by AI at Meta. This form in Facebook's Help Center. So basically it's called the data subject rights for third-party information used by AI in Meta, all right? While this won't keep Meta from scraping your data from the profile and posts, but it will delete any publicly available third-party information that has collected about you from the internet for all it's worth. So it's something, right? Winning something. But I have a better idea, right? Really good idea. Stop using all those things. Stop using Facebook. Stop using all the things, WhatsApp. Stop using all the things that collect your data. Again, I don't know for sure. I don't want to get sued, so I'm just reading this article from 9 to 5 Mac. This is what they're saying. I don't know if it's true or not, but if it is, do your own research, figure it out, and then start using apps that really are protecting your data better. And we got to find out what those are now. But over time, I think they're all going to come out, and then you should shift over to those. Here's another AI one, and you know how much I hate AI, right? Here it is. This is 9 to 5 Mac. OpenAI's Chat GPT for Mac app is now available to everyone. So let's scroll down here. It says, over the last month, OpenAI has gradually been rolling out its first ever Chat GPT app for the Mac, plus subscribers. Starting today, however, OpenAI says that Chat GPT app for macOS is now available to everyone, but it's Apple Silicon only, so you have to be using Apple Silicon to use this. OpenAI touts that the chatbot app for macOS is designed to integrate seamlessly into everything you're doing on your computer. The app was built to be native to the Mac and offers easy keyboard shortcuts. Now, I kind of went down here. It's just kind of one of those things where you read it and you're like scratching your head. It says the Chat GPT app for macOS, you can easily interact with the chatbot. It says you can also choose to attach things like files, photos, screenshots, and your messages to have Chat GPT use the material. So use the material how? This is the question. So like if I let's just say I accidentally ask it something about a financial record or social security's numbers in it. Where does that information go? Who gets it? Where is it saved? I know Apple eventually is going to come out with their AI, you're going to be able to go through a system and they're going to have it kind of locked down so it's not sending your data. But this is an app directly from, it looks like ChatGPT. And I don't know how this one works, right? So you have to ask these questions. Like obviously if I'm sharing my screen, remember the recall feature, like where it takes snapshots and stuff. This is even maybe worse if your information's leaving. So who knows, right? This is the thing that we're up against right now. We have to kind of figure out who's doing this right, who's doing it wrong. By signing up and just downloading the app and using it, if you all of a sudden feed it some document on your computer and you have no idea where that ended up, maybe it's safe, maybe it's not going anywhere, right? But we just don't know, or at least I don't know. So do your research and before you start downloading these things, think about it. This next one saddens me a little bit as well, although they don't mention the Mac Mini that much, but we'll see. So it says right here, Apple Insider, late 2025 for M4 Mac Studio and Mac Pro seems more certain now. High rumor score, so it looks like this is another report. New report detailing the migration of Apple's Mac line to M4 is out, and it doubles down on the previous rumors it's going to take a bit longer than a year for the Mac Studio or Mac Pro upgrade, all right? Let me just see here. So it goes on to say it looks like the end of 2025 right here, and that take until the second half of 2025. So if you want a Studio or a Mac Pro, you're going to be waiting a long time. And I don't know, I understand why. We'll get to that in a second. But it doesn't really mention the Mac Mini in here, which is kind of weird. So I don't know if that's going to be coming out sooner. At least that would be something. But also down here it says the reason is because they barely sell any of these compared to all the other Macs. And that's true. I showed you a graph a long time ago. They sell like 1% of Mac Minis, 1% are Studios, 1% of each of those. The rest are like basically MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros. So they have almost no reason to like upgrade these things. They have, nobody buys them. I love them. A lot of people love them. I mean, the same thing with an iMac and stuff. I love this thing. I bought one, obviously, but nobody buys them. I think they buy a lot more of these than even the Mac Minis, which is crazy to me. Anyways, you guys tell me. That's pretty sad news, right? All right, so the next article is sad news if you live in Europe. So over here from Apple Insider, it says Apple Intelligence and iPhone mirroring aren't coming to the EU because of DMA. So if you basically, let me just read what this means. Apple isn't releasing Apple Intelligence and other major operating system changes to the EU because of a Digital Marketing Act mandate, basically. All right. So it says basically some of the biggest changes here is going to be obviously coming up as Apple Intelligence as well as iPhone mirroring and SharePlay screen sharing. It says while most of the world will get these features, Apple says that the EU will miss out on this tech because of this, this, I guess, mandate. So maybe the Apple's trying to push it, a little bit in advance to try to get that changed. But it does. I read through the whole article. It says like basically iPhone mirroring, SharePlay, and screen sharing and Apple Intelligence basically should not come to the EU this year, and it may take even longer next year. So if you're in Europe and you have an iPhone, talk to somebody over there, see if they can get it moved through. But I think it looks like it's coming in a long time from now. So you guys could be in some big trouble if you have an Apple phone. All right, this next one's kind of fun, especially if you have a carrier, obviously AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile. Interesting stuff here. So right over here, 9 to 5 Mac, it says T-Mobile 5G still faster than Verizon and AT&T, but it's getting close, all right? So T-Mobile of all things, you would never have guessed. I actually use Mint Mobile, which is great. It uses T-Mobile really, really fast. So the thing I thought was cool down here is US 5G performance. So look at this graph. T-Mobile's first, way up here. Verizon second. AT&T's way down here. So it says T-Mobile's 287 megabytes per second. Verizon's, 224. AT&T's only 145, and that's the download. For the upload over here, here's the upload. Looks like right over here, Verizon and T-Mobile are 1, 2. I think Verizon edges them out, but they're around 17 megabytes per second. AT&T's way down here at under 10. So AT&T seems to be the slowest with the upload and the download, which is crazy. And then finally down here, this is kind of like, what's it say, 5G video and gaming quality experience. T-Mobile leads it, Verizon, and then AT&T's way down here. Although this is not way down here because this is, 5G video score, whatever that means. 82 for T-Mobile and 74 maybe for AT&T. Not that big of a difference there because of the graph, but still. Oh yeah, this was actually interesting as well. Look at this thing here. This shows you like who's got the fastest speeds in the United States of all kind of Wi-Fi. Or just, I guess, not Wi-Fi, but basically the phones, how fast your phone is, 5G, I guess. Duh. Here we go. So it looks like Illinois, the state that I live in, it's the highest. Look at the orange is the highest. It's 250 right here. And then the dark colors, like the kind of the bluish and greens and purples, they're the lowest, down to 50. So like looks like Vermont's really slow. It's like only 50 or something. But these orange things all through the Midwest here are very fast. And then basically this is actually pretty slow. So I don't know why Illinois is fast and Wisconsin's slow. I have no idea. Obviously, like down here, it's pretty slow. But overall, even California, it looks like Illinois and some of these Midwest places, including Michigan over here, not Wisconsin, but Minnesota, was that North Dakota. They're all pretty fast, over like around 250 megabytes per second. Just interesting to graph. All right, so this next one is kind of funny to me. It says right here, 9 to 5 Mac. Apple wants to replace 50% of the iPhone final assembly line workers with automation. So we talked about AI taking jobs and stuff like that. I just read through this article really quickly. And it says, let me just see here. It says that before I even get into there, it says, according to data published by Apple's supply chain, the total number of employees that it monitors at its manufacturing partners for work hour compliance fell from 1.6 to 1.4 million from 2022 to 2023. So it fell 1.6 to 1.4. But they're saying that they want to get rid of those people up to 50% by 2027 or 8. So basically 50% of that workforce is going to be gone because of automation. So not only, I guess it's close to, AI, but this is automation, meaning like machines and stuff doing the work. So not only are we going to have jobs like people thinking like, doing audits and stuff, losing jobs because of AI, now we're going to have kind of more of the field workers, people that, get in there and do stuff, losing their jobs as well. So it's going to be an interesting future for sure. We're going to see how this all works out. I just thought it was a cool article. All right, this last one is kind of funny, and it's just, you tell me if you guys think this is funny. So right here, Apple Insider says glued iPhone batteries may be a thing of the past if this new tech works out. So Apple is reportedly testing ways to make it a lot easier for users to remove the glue holding down the battery on the iPhone, all right? Now, it goes on to say that it may arrive on the iPhone 16 in at least one model so they can test it. And then if it's successful, it could also be rolled out on all the iPhone 17 models, all right? So, but it's just hilarious to me. I mean, here they are. They're developing all these intelligent things. They have secret labs all over the world, and they cannot figure out a good way to actually get the battery out, right? So, I mean, can't they just like use a less, some kind of glue that's maybe a little bit less sticky or something? I mean, I have all the problems in the world, sending people to the moon and stuff with, all NASA type company. They can't figure out how to make it so you can take the battery out. This is crazy to me. Kind of funny. All right, so we're going to wrap up the news here. Enjoy your weekend, whether you're drinking something like this or you're drinking cappuccino, coffee, whatever you want. Enjoy the weekend, right? Although you probably watch this on a Monday or Tuesday, and it's not going to make absolutely no sense to you. Anyways, I do these kind of videos every week, usually on the weekend, like I said, because I have a little drink with them and we go through all the news. You can sit back at night and watch it. But, I mean, I do a whole bunch of other videos. I do all tech reviews. I do all Apple videos over, and I'm getting close to 700 now. So check out my channel. Subscribe if you can. Help me out. And we'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.